On a sweltering July evening, Clay Harper, a rugged farmer from a quiet Texas village, drove his creaky old pickup down a dusty country road. His heart felt heavy, not just from the heat but from the loneliness that clung to him since his wife's passing 2 years ago. A friend had told him about a stable in a neighboring town, known for sturdy workhorses at fair prices. Clay needed a horse to plow his fields, but deep down, he craved something to fill the void in his life. The sun dipped low, painting the sky orange as he reached the stable, its faded sign reading, Shanty Farms. The place was eerily quiet, no workers, no neighing horses, just the hum of cicadas. Clay stepped out, wiping sweat from his brow. "Hello? Anyone there?" he called, his voice echoing. Nothing. Curiosity tugged at him. He walked toward the stable, the crunch of gravel under his boots the only sound. Inside, the air was thick with the scent of hay. A faint rustle caught his ear. In the dim corner of a stall, he saw something that made his blood run cold, a young woman, bound with rope, her eyes wide with fear. Her mouth was gagged, her clothes torn. Clay's heart raced. "Hey, don't be scared," he whispered, kneeling beside her. With trembling hands, he pulled out his pocketknife and cut her free. She gasped, tears streaming down her face. "I'm Clay." "You're safe now," he said, his voice steady despite the shock. Who was she? And what had happened here? Clay Harper's hands shook as he cut the last rope binding the woman. She collapsed against the straw, her breath shallow, her ice-blue eyes darting around the dim stable. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice hoarse. I'm Lila." She rubbed her wrists, red from the ropes, and shivered despite the Texas heat. Clay's mind raced. Why was she here, tied up in this deserted stable? His instinct to help overpowered his confusion. "Lila, what happened? Who did this?" he asked, keeping his tone gentle. She hesitated, glancing at the stable door as if expecting someone to burst in. "I don't know his name," she said. "A man, he worked here. He grabbed me 2 days ago while I was hitchhiking. Said I'd learn my place." Her voice broke, and Clay clenched his fists, anger flaring at the thought of someone hurting her. He pulled out his old phone and dialed the sheriff. "Stay with me, Lila. Help's coming," he assured her. As they waited, he gave her his water bottle and sat nearby, keeping watch. The silence between them was heavy, broken only by the distant howl of a coyote. Lila's story came in fragments. She was a drifter, no family, just passing through town. Clay felt a pang. Her loneliness mirrored his own. When the sheriff's lights finally flashed outside, Lila tensed. "They won't believe me," she muttered. Clay shook his head. "I'm here. I saw this. They'll listen." The sheriff took her statement, but the worker had vanished. With nowhere else to go, Lila accepted Clay's offer to stay at his farm temporarily. As they drove away, Clay wondered, could saving her also save him? Clay's farm was a modest patch of Texas earth, with fields stretching under a wide sky and a small house that creaked with memories of his late wife. As he showed Lila to the spare room, he noticed her hesitation, her eyes scanning every corner like a cornered animal. "It ain't much, but it's safe," Clay said, handing her a clean towel. Lila nodded, clutching the towel like a lifeline. "Thank you, Clay. I don't know how to repay you." That first night, Clay couldn't sleep. The image of Lila, bound and terrified, haunted him. He wondered about her life, her story. By morning, he found her in the kitchen, brewing coffee with shaky hands. "Didn't mean to startle you," she said, offering a weak smile. Clay waved it off. "Coffee smells good. You sleep okay?" She shrugged, her guard still up. Over breakfast, Clay suggested teaching her farm chores to keep her mind busy. Lila agreed, eager for distraction. They fed the chickens, mended a fence, and checked the crops under the blazing sun. Lila was a quick learner, her hands steadying with each task. Clay saw a spark in her eyes, a hint of the woman she might have been before fear took hold. As days passed, they fell into a rhythm. Lila shared bits of her past, growing up in foster homes, always running from something. Clay listened, his own grief softening as he spoke of his wife's laughter and the farm's better days. A quiet trust grew between them, fragile but real. One evening, as they watched the sunset, Lila said, "I feel human again." Clay smiled, his heart stirring. Could this stranger be mending his broken world? The sun sank low, casting long shadows over Clay's farm as he and Lila sat on the porch, sipping sweet tea. The quiet was comfortable now, a stark contrast to the tension of their first meeting. Lila's laughter, rare but bright, echoed as Clay recounted a story about his old mule's stubborn streak. Yet, beneath her growing ease, Clay sensed a lingering fear. Her eyes still flicked toward the road, as if expecting trouble. That night, over a simple dinner of cornbread and stew, Lila opened up more. "I was running from a bad situation," she admitted, stirring her bowl. "A guy I trusted, he wasn't who I thought. I hitched a ride to start over, but then that worker grabbed me." Her voice trembled, and Clay's jaw tightened. He wanted to find the man who'd hurt her, but he focused on her instead. "You're here now, Lila. You're safe." The next morning, a sheriff's deputy stopped by with news. They'd found no trace of the stable worker, but rumors swirled of a drifter causing trouble in nearby towns. Lila paled, gripping her coffee mug. Clay placed a hand on her shoulder. "He won't touch you here," he promised, his voice firm. She nodded, but doubt lingered in her eyes. To keep her grounded, Clay taught her to ride his old mare, Daisy. Lila's fear melted as she gripped the reins, her smile breaking through like sunlight. "I've never felt this free," she said, laughing as they trotted across the field. Clay watched, his heart swelling. He hadn't felt this alive in years. But as they rode back, a strange car slowed by the farm's gate, its driver unseen. Was trouble closing in? The strange car's shadow lingered in Clay's mind as he locked the farm gate that evening. He didn't tell Lila, not wanting to stir her fears, but he kept his rifle closer. Over the next few days, life on the farm settled into a fragile rhythm. Lila threw herself into chores, her hands now steady as she milked cows or hauled hay. Clay admired her resilience, how she fought to reclaim herself after the terror at Shanty Farms Point one afternoon. As they repaired a barn door, Lila's sleeve slipped, revealing a faded scar on her arm. "Old story," she said, catching Clay's glance. Foster home wasn't kind. He didn't pry but shared his own scar, a burn from a tractor mishap. "Life leaves marks," he said. Lila smiled, her guard lowering. That night, she cooked a spicy chili, teasing Clay for coughing at the heat. Their laughter filled the house, a sound Clay hadn't heard in years. By week's end, Lila joined Clay at the local market, selling eggs and vegetables. Townsfolk whispered about the new girl, but Clay's steady presence kept their curiosity at bay. Lila's confidence grew, she even haggled with a customer, earning a grin from Clay. "You're a natural," he said. Her blush warmed him more than the sun, yet, unease crept in. Clay noticed footprints near the fence, too large to be Lila's. He brushed it off as a neighbor's, but doubt gnawed at him. That night, Lila sang softly while washing dishes, a lullaby from her childhood. Clay listened, his heart aching with a feeling he hadn't known since his wife. Could he protect Lila? And why did his lonely heart feel so full? Clay woke to the sound of a creaking gate, his heart pounding in the pre-dawn stillness. He grabbed his rifle and scanned the farm from his window, but the yard was empty, bathed in moonlight. The footprints he'd seen days ago haunted him, too deliberate, too close. He didn't tell Lila, who slept soundly in the spare room, her soft humming from last night's lullaby still echoing in his mind. Protecting her was becoming more than duty, it was personal. By morning, Clay doubled the locks on the gates and taught Lila to use a whistle for emergencies. She noticed his tension but didn't push, instead helping him mend a chicken coop. Her hands moved with purpose, and when she laughed at a stubborn nail, Clay felt warmth spread through him. "You're tougher than you look," he said. Lila grinned. "Learned that the hard way." That afternoon, a neighbor, Old Man Jenkins, dropped by with gossip. "Heard about trouble at Shanty Farms," he said, squinting. "Some drifter's been spotted nearby, acting strange." Lila froze, her face paling. Clay stepped closer, his voice low. "He won't come here, Lila." But her eyes betrayed her fear, and Clay's resolve hardened. As dusk fell, they sat on the porch, the air thick with summer heat. Lila shared more of her past, running from an abusive ex, always looking over her shoulder. Clay listened, his own grief surfacing. "Lost my wife to illness," he admitted. "Thought I'd never care again." Lila's hand brushed his, a silent understanding passing between them. But as stars emerged, a distant snap in the fields made Clay stiffen. Something, or someone, was out there. Could he keep Lila safe, or was the past catching up? Clay's grip tightened on his rifle as he scanned the dark fields, the snap from earlier still ringing in his ears. Lila stood beside him on the porch, her breath uneven. "What was that?" she whispered, clutching the whistle Clay had given her. He didn't answer, his eyes fixed on the shadows beyond the fence. "Stay here," he said finally, stepping into the yard. The night was heavy, the air thick with the scent of earth and danger. He moved quietly, checking the barn and coops, finding nothing but the usual rustle of animals. Yet the feeling of being watched clung to him. Returning to the porch, he found Lila pacing, her face pale. "I can't keep running," she said, her voice cracking. "What if it's him?" Clay's heart twisted. He wanted to promise safety, but the footprints and that car lingered in his mind. Inside, they locked the doors, and Clay sat up, keeping watch. Lila curled up on the couch, her eyes heavy but restless. "Why are you doing this for me?" she asked softly. Clay paused, then said, "You remind me life's worth fighting for." Her small smile warmed him, but worry gnawed at his gut. By morning, the sheriff called. They'd found a stolen truck matching the one Clay saw near his gate, abandoned nearby. "Could be your guy," the sheriff said. "Stay vigilant." Clay shared the news with Lila, who nodded, her jaw set. "I'm done being scared," she declared. Together, they reinforced the farm's defenses, new locks, a makeshift alarm. As they worked, their hands brushed, and Clay felt a spark. But danger was closing in. Could their fragile bond withstand what was coming? The morning sun cast a golden glow over Clay's farm, but the air felt heavy with unspoken fears. Lila worked alongside him, hammering nails into a new gate, her hands steadier than before. Clay admired her grit, she wasn't the scared woman he'd found in the stable anymore. Yet, the sheriff's warning about the stolen truck kept him on edge. He scanned the horizon, half expecting trouble to roll in with the dust. As they took a break, Lila handed Clay a glass of lemonade, her fingers lingering near his. "I never thought I'd feel safe again," she said, her voice soft but sure. Clay met her gaze, his heart stirring. "You're stronger than you know, Lila." She smiled, and for a moment, the world felt right. They talked about simpler things, her love for stargazing, his dream of planting an orchard. The farm, once a place of grief, buzzed with life. That afternoon, Clay taught Lila to shoot a rifle, just in case. She aimed at a tin can, her focus fierce, and hit it on her third try. "Not bad." Clay cheered, and her laugh echoed across the field. But their joy was cut short when Old Man Jenkins rushed over, breathless. "Saw a man skulking near the creek," he said. "Looked like he was watching your place." Lila's face drained of color, but she gripped Clay's arm. "I'm not running this time." Clay's resolve hardened. He and Lila set up lanterns around the farm, preparing for the night. As they worked, their shoulders brushed, and a quiet promise passed between them. They were in this together. But as darkness fell, a faint rustle near the creek sent a chill through Clay. Was the past about to shatter their newfound hope? Darkness cloaked Clay's farm as he and Lila stood watch, the lanterns casting flickering shadows. The rustle near the creek had set Clay's nerves on edge, his rifle ready in his hands. Lila gripped the whistle, her eyes scanning the night. "If he's out there, we face him together," she said, her voice steady despite the fear in her eyes. Clay nodded, his heart pounding, not just for danger, but for the woman beside him, who'd become his reason to fight. A sudden crash near the barn made them freeze. Clay signaled Lila to stay low and crept forward, his boots silent on the grass. In the dim light, a figure emerged, a man, wiry and wild-eyed, holding a crowbar. "Where is she?" he snarled, his voice matching Lila's description of her kidnapper. Clay's blood boiled. "You're done hurting her," he growled, raising his rifle. The man lunged, but Clay was faster, tackling him to the ground. Lila ran over, blowing the whistle to alert neighbors. The struggle was fierce, the man's desperation clashing with Clay's resolve. Finally, Clay pinned him, tying his hands with rope from the barn. Lila stood nearby, trembling but unbroken. "It's him," she whispered, recognizing the worker from Shanty Farms. As neighbors arrived, followed by the sheriff, the man was hauled away, cursing. Lila sank to her knees, tears of relief streaming down her face. Clay knelt beside her, his hand on her shoulder. "It's over, Lila." She looked at him, her eyes shining. "Because of you." In that moment, under the starlit sky, their bond deepened, forged in courage. The farm, once a place of loss, now held a future. But what would that future bring? The morning after the confrontation, Clay's farm glowed under a soft sunrise, the air lighter than it had been in weeks. Lila stood by the porch, her eyes tracing the fields where fear once loomed. Clay joined her, handing her a mug of coffee. "He's gone for good," he said, the sheriff's call confirming the kidnapper's arrest. Lila exhaled, a weight lifting. "I can finally breathe," she murmured, her smile warm and real. Days turned to weeks, and Lila stayed on, no longer a guest but a partner. She planted flowers by the house, their colors brightening Clay's world. He taught her to drive the tractor, laughing when she swerved into a hay bale. They shared stories under the stars, her dreams of travel blending with his hopes for the farm. The emptiness Clay once felt was gone, replaced by a quiet joy he hadn't known since his wife. One evening, a year after that fateful day at Shanty Farms, Clay led Lila to the barn. Under its weathered beams, where he'd first saved her, he knelt, holding a simple ring. "Lila, you've given me a reason to live again. Marry me?" Tears welled in her eyes, not from fear but happiness. "Yes," she whispered, and they embraced, the barn echoing with their laughter. Now, the farm thrives, not just with crops and horses but with love. Lila's flowers bloom, and Clay's orchard grows. They face each day together, scars and all, proof that life can mend even the deepest wounds. What began as a quest for a horse became a journey to a new home. Dear friends, if this story touched you, like and subscribe for more tales of hope and heart.